Alright, let's dive right in. Number 10. The unassuming choking hazard. You adore those frankfurters you grab at the stadium during baseball season? They are, counterintuitively, perfectly designed execution devices. I'm not referring to the ingredients, but specifically to the structure. That seemingly harmless cylinder of processed meat is, in essence, a weapon of homicide masquerading as a snack. Its flawlessly smooth cylindrical dimension is virtually engineered to establish an impenetrable, airtight seal within your trachea. When an individual typically chokes on food, small voids around the obstruction usually permit some oxygen flow. But a hot dog? It's as if it were custom-made to cork your windpipe shut. It's the physiological equivalent of inserting a stopper into a bottle. Nothing enters, nothing escapes. The airways of small children are precisely the diameter required for a hot dog to create this faultless vacuum seal. For children under the age of 3, hot dogs stand as the #1 food-based choking threat. Adding to the danger, your own throat muscles exacerbate the situation. When fear strikes and your throat contracts, it grips the hot dog even more tightly. It's as if your own biology partners with the obstacle to finish you off. This design is so effective for strangulation that even the Heimlich maneuver struggles against it. However, a ridiculously simple modification transforms this fatality mechanism into normal food. Simply slice the hot dog lengthwise before serving it to youngsters. One cut down the center completely eradicates its lethal potential. Number 9. Demise by licorice obsession. Here is the true account of an individual who literally consumed his favorite confectionery until it resulted in his death. A 54-year-old man, a construction worker residing in Massachusetts, struggled with a profound dependency on black licorice. This man was routinely ingesting 1.5 bags of the candy every single day. Contained within black licorice is an element known as glyceric acid. This acid does more than just interfere with your body's potassium regulation. It actively drains potassium from your system, much like a nutritional vampire. Your heart requires potassium to sustain a steady, appropriate beat. Lacking it, your cardiac rhythm deteriorates from a regular thump-thump to a sporadic, chaotic rhythm. This man's heart began to beat like a perpetually inebriated drummer. He had absolutely no idea that his preferred treat was essentially giving his heart a debilitating lobotomy. One afternoon, while at a fast food establishment, boom, his heart stopped completely. A man, otherwise in perfect health, was killed by candy purchased at the local corner market. The medical experts who examined his case were astonished. Death by licorice is what they were ultimately compelled to record on the official report. Following this incident, the FDA was actually obliged to release a public caution. They advised that consuming merely 2 ounces of black licorice daily for a duration of 2 weeks could potentially land you in the cardiac intensive care unit. If you've watched this far, please give me a like and subscribe. Since I lost my old channel, I truly need your support. Alright, let's continue now. Number 8. Korea's most dangerous meal. In Korea, there exists a delicacy called sanakji that actively struggles against you as you attempt to eat it. They take a living octopus, swiftly dice it into pieces, and plate it instantly. These portions remain writhing on the dish, behaving as if they are attempting an escape. The octopus's tentacles maintain activity because 2/3 of its total neurons are actually located within its appendages. Consequently, even after being sectioned, each piece is fundamentally still thinking, "I refuse to go down without resistance." You might find the sight of the moving tentacles unsettling, but the real threats are the microscopic suction cups. Every tentacle possesses hundreds of these small, deadly grips that haven't registered that they are supposed to be deceased. Take a bite, and these suction cups can physically adhere themselves to the inner lining of your throat. One moment, you are savoring an exotic piece of cuisine. The next, you are engaged in mortal combat with seafood. Number 7. The ocean's flesh, consuming secret. That refined oyster served at your high-end restaurant could harbor bacteria that is, quite literally, designed to consume you alive. Allow us to introduce Vibrio vulnificus. This is far beyond your standard case of spoiled seafood. This bacterium functions as the Hannibal Lecter of the marine world. It is impossible to detect visually, by scent, or by flavor. That oyster, appearing completely fresh, could be a Trojan horse teeming with flesh-eating psychopaths. Once this bacteria enters your body, it can trigger necrotizing fasciitis. Simplified translation, your tissue begins to decompose and slough off your body while you remain conscious. Approximately 1 in 5 individuals who contract a serious infection from this are deceased within 48 hours. The span from slurping an oyster to making funeral arrangements is just 2 days flat. If you possess a robust immune system, you might nearly spend a day bowing before the porcelain altar. However, if you have any underlying health vulnerabilities or even a minor paper cut, that oyster transforms into a rapidly ticking time bomb. And the cocktail sauce? Useless. That lemon wedge? Decorative at best. The solitary agent capable of eliminating this bacteria is heat. Extreme heat. Number 6. The cyanide nut. Your preferred healthy trail mix snack has a malicious counterpart that is essentially a suicide capsule encased in a shell. Meet the bitter almond. It is visually indistinguishable from standard almonds, but these malevolent kernels are densely packed with amygdalin. Upon ingestion, your stomach acid converts this amygdalin compound directly into hydrogen cyanide. Yes, that's cyanide, the substance utilized by antagonists in classic murder mysteries. Just 50 of these nuts possess sufficient potency to fell a fully grown adult male. For children, the lethal dose is significantly lower. The cyanide effectively suffocates your cells from the inside out. Your bloodstream contains oxygen, but your cells are unable to process it. It is the bizarre sensation of drowning while standing in open air. The almonds you purchase in stores are sweet almonds, selectively bred to eliminate their lethal properties. Sweet almonds are the golden retrievers of the nut family, pleasant, harmless, and unremarkable. Bitter almonds are the cold-blooded killers. Same lineage, radically divergent outcomes. For many centuries, people unintentionally used these to poison their adversaries. Oh dear, I mistakenly selected the incorrect almonds for your after-dinner treat. What a tragic oversight. Most nations have outright prohibited the sale of raw bitter almonds because it appears humanity cannot be trusted to handle murder nuts responsibly. Number 5. The Death Cap Imposter. You are gathering edibles in the forest and suddenly notice what appears to be a flawlessly formed puffball mushroom. Plot twist, it is, in fact, a young death cap mushroom in disguise. And death caps are ruthlessly efficient. They target your liver immediately and exclusively. These fungi are nature's expert catfishes. Juvenile death caps look exactly like edible puffball varieties. The sole reliable method to differentiate them is to slice them open. A genuine puffball will be solid white internally, like a dense marshmallow. A death cap will reveal a minute mushroom embryo nestled inside, resembling an ultrasound of impending death. Overlook this crucial detail, and you have just signed the execution order for your liver. Half of a single death cap contains sufficient venom to liquefy your internal organs, and by the time the initial symptoms manifest, the internal destruction is already irreparable. The truly disturbing part, death caps apparently taste exquisite. Victims have reported them being delicious even as their vital organs are literally disintegrating. Nature's way of delivering a cruel punchline. Number 4. The frog of mortality and sustenance. In Namibia, people consume enormous bullfrogs that can utterly destroy your kidneys if you fail to choose the appropriate day to eat them. They don't just eat the legs, they consume the entire frog head, organs, everything. This is culinary commitment. However, ingest this amphibian before the third seasonal rainfall, and your kidneys will effectively perform a catastrophic system failure. These frogs are loaded with potent toxins that only dissipate after very specific climatic events. The local populace waits specifically for the third rain, not the first, not the second, but the third. It is as if nature is running a convoluted game show where the grand prize is basic survival. Scientists remain baffled as to why the third rain is the crucial turning point, but the inhabitants insist upon it, and they remain alive, so who are we to dispute their methods? Mess up the cooking or preparation process even slightly, and you are facing kidney failure before the dessert course. Number 3. The destructive spice dare. Remember that viral cinnamon challenge? It turns out that deliberately inhaling the pulverized bark of a tree can result in permanent, debilitating damage to your pulmonary system. Sounds harmless, doesn't it? Just swallow a spoonful of spice. What possible catastrophe could occur? Everything. Absolutely everything can go wrong. Cinnamon is nothing more than finely ground tree bark. When you attempt to swallow it dry, it does not dissolve. It instantly congeals into a plaster-like cement. This paste of bark adheres to your mouth and throat, akin to being waterboarded with a holiday flavor. Your body panics and triggers an intense, involuntary gasp for air. But when you gasp, you suck the cinnamon particles directly into your lungs. Now your lung tissue is being paved with tree bark. This initiates a condition known as chemical pneumonia. Your lungs are physically being chemically scorched from the inside. In some documented cases, people have suffered lung collapse. Visualize your lung simply giving up and deflating like a mournful party balloon. All for a 15-second piece of content that garnered 47 views. The inflicted damage can be irreversible. You could spend the rest of your existence struggling for breath simply because you sought fleeting online fame. Number 2. Jamaica's game of Russian roulette fruit. Jamaica's national fruit has the capacity to literally kill you if you consume it just one day too early. Meet ackee, the fruit that demands either a desire for death or flawless temporal accuracy. When it reaches maturity, it naturally splits open, exposing a pale yellow, creamy pulp surrounding glossy black seeds. But consume it before it opens naturally, and you have secured a one-way ticket to the hereafter. Unripe ackee is laden with hypoglycin. This specific toxin completely shuts down your body's essential ability to generate energy from sugar. Your cells essentially starve to death while you are still engaged in the digestive process. Within mere hours, you experience violent, uncontrollable vomiting. Your blood sugar plummets so dramatically that you can easily slip into a coma. Medical professionals refer to this condition as Jamaican vomiting sickness, demonstrating a distinct lack of creativity in naming diseases. Yet, Jamaicans consume this deadly fruit every single day. Prepared with saltfish, it constitutes their national dish. They have refined the act of not dying from fruit consumption into a cultural art form. This fruit was imported from West Africa during the period of the slave trade. Try to imagine the first person who successfully deduced the safe method of consumption. Day 1, Bob perished. Day 2, also Bob's fault for eating it prematurely. Number 1. The dented can of doom. That dented can in your pantry could contain one of the deadliest substances on Earth. We're talking about botulism toxin. A single teaspoon of this stuff could theoretically kill every human in a small country. Your can of green beans could be a weapon of mass destruction. That tiny dent creates the perfect home for bacteria that makes this toxin. No oxygen, no light, just bacteria having a party and leaving poison as the gift. You can't see it, smell it, or taste it. Your food looks normal while being more toxic than a Twitter comment section. The toxin paralyzes you from the face down. First, your vision blurs, then your face droops, then your throat stops working. Eventually, your diaphragm gives up and you stop breathing. But here's the nightmare part. Your brain stays completely awake. You get to experience your body shutting down like watching your phone die at 1%. This toxin is so deadly that when diluted 1,000,000 times, it becomes Botox. People literally inject poison into their faces to look younger. The same stuff that's in your sketchy can of soup. So, that dented can on sale, leave it. Unless you want your last meal to literally be your last meal. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.